Hello and welcome to GitHub Actions tutorial, where we're going to learn about working with events that trigger workflows. At the end of this lecture, you will have understanding of how to create simple workflow on a GitHub and how to trigger them. I will walk you through step by step, and you can follow along with me. Exciting, right? Let's dive in. So, what are the prerequisite to follow this GitHub tutorials? So if you haven't watched my previous video, I have already explained in that video how to create a GitHub free account and what else you may need in order to set up the GitHub locally. So yeah, hopefully I will provide the link within the description of this tutorial. So that will give you enough information what you need to get started. Yeah. So you only need a GitHub account and Visual Studio Code in order to follow along. In today's topics, so these are the topics we're going to follow in today's lecture. So configure workflows to run for one or more events, configure workflow to run for scheduled events, configure workflow to run for manual events, and configure workflow to run webhook events. And then we're going to demonstrate a GitHub event, how to trigger the GitHub event. So cool. So let's dive in with some practical examples. So if we open GitHub on my left hand side. One second. Hopefully you should see my screen. One second. Let me just quickly check HTML screen. Okay, so if I go to my GitHub account, and then we're going to start. First of all, we're going to start creating a repository. So if I go to the repositories, and if I create a new repository, and then if you just name it, let's name it something sensible. So let's say work with events, maybe work to hyphen it with events. Yeah, this is demo repository to show how to work with events. Okay, will that make sense? I'm just gonna add readme just for my purposes. Cool, that's it. And then create repository. Cool. So our work with events repository is ready on our organization called Hands-on Lab with Chirag. Oh, it's not actually an organization, it's a personal account. But this is the owner at the moment, and this is the repository. So so you can see it is just empty. There's nothing on the repository. There's just a readme file. Yeah. So I haven't done anything. We're going to do everything from scratch on this repo. So let's quickly go into the action step first. And this is where you can see everything. So this is where you deploying your GitHub actions. So once, if you have deployed already, this is where you can see it. And if you haven't deployed anything, obviously this is how it's going to look like. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a simple kind of a simple workflow just to show you what it looks like. So what I'm going to do is just going to say, or because I have used that previously in a different repository, that's why it is suggested here. If it's not showing here, you can just do simple workflow, and that should just if you even if you just type simple, you should be able to see it in your search options. So I'm going to click configure. Now remember this button as well, right? So when you do the GitHub Actions exam, they will ask you this kind of questions that if you're going into the action, what button do you see? Do you see start? Do you see configure? So these are the kind of question you would expect. So I'm going to press configure button, and then you can see it has kind of brought in everything here for us. So I'm just going to name it something, let's say first workflow.yaml. And remember that all of the GitHub action file are in the YAML format, so you just need to make sure that it's either YML or YAML. So when I press the configure button, you can see it has already kind of went into this path. So you can see this is the name of the repo. This is the path it has kind of created itself. So .github and workflows and the first workflow.yaml. So this is how this is where all of our workflow going to live. So if you're going to create any GitHub action, it's supposed to live in within the workflows folder. Yeah. So if you put it anywhere outside of the workflows folder, GitHub is not going to read it and it won't show up in the actions. Let's just name this as a workflow as well. First workflow. Now you can see I'm not changing anything here. I'm just keeping exactly as it is, but I will quickly explain what all this means. Don't worry about that too much because we're going to go through in detail all of the triggers and what are the jobs and everything in our future lectures. But at the moment, we're just going to see what the simple workflow looks like. So yeah, this is the name we have given. So this is the display name. So once we create our workflow, we will be able to see it on the left-hand side menu. Then then we got this triggers. So what we are saying here that on event on push event on the main branch, I want to trigger this workflow, as well as I also want to trigger this on a pull request and on the main branch. Yeah. So if I would have said XYZ here, and when there is a pull request on a main branch, it wouldn't trigger the workflow. But at the moment, we are saying either or, either this or this, if that makes sense. So just quickly save that. Spelled it. And then if you want to run it manually, that's why we have this event called workflow dispatch. We're going to explain this later on. I understand that this probably won't make too much of sense at the moment, so I'm just going to get rid of this for now. And then everything else, we're going to keep it as it is. So I'm not going to remove anything else. Yeah. So within the jobs, this is where our actual logic goes in. So within the jobs, we got build, and we want to say which type of the VM we want to use here. So at the moment, we are saying that we want to run our workflow on the Ubuntu. Obviously, there's a different options here. We can select Mac or we can select Windows, but we will come to that when we come to that lecture. So at the moment, we're just simply kind of trying to kind of set this up to set up our first workflow. So after that, we have steps. So within the steps, you first have to decide. Well, it depends if you want to say this or not. But uh, what we are doing here is we are saying that we are checking out the actions repository. So I will show you what this actually is, what action is checking out, because this is kind of public action which is kind of provided by GitHub, uh, and it has its own kind of workflows and stuff. So it's like if you have used Terraform before, it's like pulling the whole module uh, within your file, and then use whatever the functionality that module is providing. Yeah. So we'll go into deep when we come to it, but at the moment, let's leave it as it is. That is checking out the actions into this repository. Uh, then we got the different steps. So first step is we are saying we are giving a name that run one line script, and then we are just running this command echo hello world. Yeah, and then we have the second step where we're saying run multi-line script, and then we are running these two different echo commands. So this is just a kind of bash script where we just saying echo add other action to build and then echo text whatever. So yeah, this is what our simple workflow looks like. So if we commit this change, so if I just do commit changes, and if I so I'm not going to bother to create a new branch and create a pull request and all those kind of things because it's our kind of a test repo. But if you are working on a kind of obviously in your kind of production or live environment and stuff, the best practice is to create a new branch and then create a pull request and then commit anything. Yeah. So I'm going to commit this here, and that's our first workflow has been created. So what we can do is we can go to the action step, and you can see because I committed something and our workflow which we have created had that trigger, it has kind of straight away triggered this workflow. So let's go into it and just take a look what it has done. So if you click on this, it will come to this build section because that's the name we have given to it. And if you want to see it again, we can see it by clicking here. I think where is it going now? No, here, workflow file. So this is the name we have given. So this could be anything. It doesn't have to be build, but it could be any sensible name, you know. So if we go, sorry, let me just go back again. If you go to a first workflow and create the run which it has done after our commit, and click on the build, uh, you can see all the jobs it has run. So it has set up the job. Now this is kind of pre-built. This is not we have created. It is done by the GitHub Actions itself. Yeah, and it will show you what kind of operating system it's using and like runner image and all kind of nice things, and then all the permissions things and those kind of things. Right? And by default, it will generate this kind of GitHub token every time it runs. Yeah, so that's the part of the setup job. So, and this is an exam question, yeah. So you have to make sure that you know that the GitHub token has gets created uh, when you um, set up the job or when you run your workflow. So yeah, so that's the setup job. Now let's have a look in the checkout. So this is what the checkout action has done. So we don't have to worry about that too much for now. I think the one which interests us is these two actions. So if I just quickly open the workflow file on the new tab. Yeah. So we saw the checkout action, but these are the two steps we are interested in. So run one line script. So let's go and look what happened in the run one line script. If you see it, this is the command it has done and it has printed the hello world. Yeah. And same for the next action. This is the command it has done and this is what is printed. So this is what like a simple workflow look like. Obviously, we going to add more complex script into this, different commands and different like multi-event and schedule and this kind of thing. But I just wanted to make sure that you understand what the simple workflow looks like before going into going into detail. So yeah, let's jump on to the next topic. All right, so now we're going to jump on to our first topic, configure workflow to run for one or more events. So we to do this, we have to uh, we have to open the Visual Studio Code. So I'm just going to quickly open this 1 second. So I have already got it open. So you can see Visual Studio Code is open here. So what we're going to do is we're going to clone this repository on our local on our computer to work with it. So rather than kind of creating a files directly within the GitHub, it's much better to just do it on a Visual Studio Code. It's easier, and then we can actually read it properly compared to on a GitHub. So I personally prefer to do it on the Visual Studio Code. So in order to clone the repository, all you need to do is click on the code, copy the link, go back to your studio, and I'm going to look for my folder. So I think my folder is on desktop, I think, and I think it's in the GitHub folder. Perfect. So if I just clear these, and I need to do git clone and the link I have copied. There you go, it's here. And then I can clear that, and I think if I cd, if I open the folder, and if I go to my desktop, work with events, select folder. There we go. So the repository here, and we can start working on it. So if I just open a new terminal just to make sure it is in the same folder. Amazing. Okay, so what we need to do is create a new YAML file to configure workflow to run for one or more events. So we're going to create a new file within the workflow folder. So if you open it, this, and then we're going to name it something. So let's just name it multi-event, maybe YAML. There we go. Just ignore this warning for now. It will go away in a few minutes. So we going to write our YAML file. So let's see. So I'm going to name it my multi-event workflow. Cool. And then we're going to decide on which uh, trigger we want to put. So we want to say on push and on the branches main. I think it's like that, main, and then Leo, I think, or just say my branch maybe. And then we want to say we want to do a second one as well, just to kind of give you kind of example. So I'm going to come out of that, and then do pull request, and we're going to say branches as well. So branches, and that's from the main as well. Cool. So hopefully that looks okay. Yeah. Oh, is the error message? What's the problem with that? Maybe it did not like the vertical space. This one. This should. I forgot the column. That's fine. Okay, so this is what we want to do on the on. I think that looks okay. On branches main branch request branches seems to be off. it is complaining for. Yeah, that's what we got. This should work. Um, yeah, I know jobs is missing. Let me finish the thing. Okay, I don't know what it is. Jobs, and we want to say this. We want to give the name of the job, so we can say uh, my job maybe colon, and then we want to say runs on, and let's just run on Ubuntu, and just cool. And then steps, and then we want to name the steps. All right, and we want to just say some information. Yep, and then we want to run multiple commands into this. So you want to say run colon and then pipeline. Well, let's say echo. I would say running this job. And let's run something like let's print a environment variable. So let's say reference, and then $, all uppercase, GitHub underscore ref. Same for something else like I don't know, maybe something like GitHub job. So if you just copy this from here and paste here, and just run this and just say job. Let's say GitHub job. Oops. Now I just want to kind of show you something. So let's just print this in a different case. So we know that all the environment variables should be in the uppercase, but let's see what happens if we print in a lowercase. Let's see what happens. So let's do that and just do that. Cool. So hopefully that should be enough. I get a feeling that I need to do that, but I think I should be fine. Let's see what happens. So at the moment we haven't got any new branch. We have created this file on the main branch. We're going to create a new branch and see how it looks like in a minute. But at the moment this is what we're going to do, and we're going to push this workflow. So let's do that. So git add git commit message edit multi file. And if you haven't set this up already on your local, I would recommend you to watch my previous video on how to set up GitHub on the local. Yeah. So I'm not going to go through how these commands are running and installation of Git and those kind of things. So yeah, git add, git commit, git push. You can give a name of the branch here, but I would like to do that so it works with all of the branches. Cool. So that's gone. Let's take a look what happened on the repository. So if you go to the code, hopefully that should have pushed our multi-event file. If you go to the actions, you can see it has run. You can see there is a new action here called a new workflow here, which is called my multi-events workflow. And then you can see it has done already. So let's see what happened in the workflow. So that's the name of the job we give, my job. And within the job, it is obviously setting up the job. And in the some information, that's the steps we gave, some information. So if you just quickly open our thing side by side, probably makes sense. So this is the so let's just open this on the other side, and if you want to keep here, that's it. I just want to so yeah, so yeah, you can see that that's the name we gave our job, my job, and that's the name we gave it to our steps, some information. So you can see this is our step and this is our job, and these are the commands we have run. So first command was I'm running this job, just simply going this, and it's printed I'm running this job. Then the reference, so reference is printed correctly, refs head and main. And then we have printed GitHub job variable. So the name of the job was my job and it has printed that correctly. But you can see GitHub job 2, it hasn't printed anything because we have put job in a lowercase. So hopefully that makes sense that all of our environment variable need to be in the uppercase. Yeah, we will come to the we will see the list of the environment variable on the GitHub documentation separately, but I just wanted to show you this example. So that's how we have kind of pushed to the main branch. Now let's see what happens if we do a pull request on the main branch. Yeah, so we are saying on push or pull request. Yeah, so in order to do that, what we have to do is create a new branch. So if we just clear this, and if we just create a new branch, so git checkout me, and I'm going to say my branch. Yep, and we going to amend something in our readme. So just say, let's say this is demo. If I type it correctly, this is demo. Okay, so if we commit this, we have to save this first. If we commit this, come on, git add. I'm just going to scroll up and get my commands. I'm so too lazy to type. Update read me, and then we are pushing this, push origin head. Perfect. So that's gone on our branch. Now see, so our branch is now synced. Let's see what happened on the repo. So if we go on the repo, if we go back on here, you can see updated readme has run because we have committed something on a my branch. So it has run because of this event. So we have proved this too is working. Now let's try something else. I wanted to make sure that I push something in a separate new branch and it won't run anything. Yeah, so I'm going to create a new branch. Let's call it, let's go back on our master. So we have a sync, the main branch. So main branch wouldn't have the readme changes we have done. Yeah, obviously because we haven't merged our request, but let's create another branch. So git checkout new branch, say new branch. Yeah, and then let's do some changes in the readme again. So my new readme changes on the new branch. Save this, commit this. Oops, why am I not moving from the editor? Git add, git commit, and edit new branch. So new branch is gone onto the repository. Let's see what happens here. So we go back in here, you can see nothing has run, you know. So this proves that our event, which we have declared here, isn't triggered. Now let's raise a pull request on the new branch we have created. Yeah, so let's go on our work with events repository, and the new branch is here. Let's create this. We are read me according to the plans. Please review. Yeah, so that's my pull request. So let's see what happens when I raise this pull request. So it is asking, you see, so it's straight away running that workflows, because we have said ignore the first workflow because I was doing something, the first test we have done, but the on the workflow we have said that we wanted to run when there's a new pull request on the main branch. So that's why it has run that workflow. So if we go to the actions, we should be able to see on my multi-event added a new branch, and there's on the new branch. Yeah, and it would have just run exactly same job, same information, but different reference, because we are running on a merge. So cool, we have covered all the topics. We are running on a multi events. We are printing some environment variables. So yeah, hopefully that all makes sense. Thank you. Okay, so on this topic, we're going to see how to configure workflows and run the events on a schedule. So let's dive in. So in order to run the workflow on a schedule, let's go back to our Visual Studio Code where we were running the previous workflow, and I'm going to switch back to the main branch. So switch it back. Cool. So I'm back on my main branch. So that should be empty because there's no readme changes because we haven't merged our pull request. Cool. So let's create a new YAML file. Let's call it schedule.yaml, and uh, rather than kind of typing all the things again, uh, and rather than kind of making the mistakes on our YAML, I would rather copy everything or most of the things which we need from here uh, to our schedule YAML file. Yeah, I'm too lazy to type, and I'm trying to avoid all the mistakes we made on the syntax, and it's hard to find those syntax errors. I'm sure you feel that pain. So let's name this workflow. So I'm going to call it schedule, run on schedule, on schedule, and we going to say run on the schedule. So we're going to say run, remove all that, and we're going to type in, just make sure there's enough tags. Not here. There we go. Schedule colon, and we have to put a cron job here, and then the timing of the cron job. Now I normally don't, top of my head, I don't normally remember all the cron jobs. So what we're going to do is we're going to look up on a website called, I think it's called crontab.guru or something like that. Let's look. Crontab. Yeah, that's the one. Crontab.guru. So let's say if you want to run every 5 minutes. So this is the like cron job you want to put for running it every 5 minutes. Let's say if you want to run it every 1 minute, you do it every 1 minute. But let's say if you want to run it every 1 hour, this is what you do, 1 hour and 1 month. Yeah, so this is like really helpful, and then you can kind of play around with it if you like. But at the moment we want to do it every 1 minute without, so it won't waste our time waiting for it to run. So we copy this, and then we can paste this back on our where is the Visual Studio gone? Our Visual Studio code. So I'm going to paste it here. So hopefully that runs every 1 hour. Sorry, every 1 minute. And then we want to print some information here. So I'm going to say my job again. Going to run on Ubuntu latest. Yeah, and this time we're going to print current time. So rather than printing this, remove that, and then we're going to say the current time is, and I think the something like that. I think that should work. Cool. So we are running this workflow on a schedule. We have scheduled it for to run it every 1 minute. This is the name we have given, and in our job we are just running this one step where we are printing the current time. So let's see what happens. So if we do git add, and we are putting it directly on our main branch here, and we are putting git commit am workflow, and then we push this. There we go. So that should be on our repo. So let's go and take a look. So back in our repo, it's running this schedule which we have already done. What I'm going to do is turn this off, so it won't just run around. So I'm just gonna, in order to disable this, you click on here. So let's say you click here, click there, and disable workflow. This is an exam question, by the way, that how do you disable the workflows. So you click on the workflow, and then you click the three dots and disable workflow. Yeah, cool. So that those two are disabled, so it won't run in our next pushes on the same repo. And we want to see what happens in the running it on schedule. So at the moment it hasn't run, so we are expecting it to run every 1 minute. So let's say in a 1 minute it should run. I hope it should. Or did we get this incorrect? That should be like that. Just checking something. Yeah, at minute 1. No, we want to run it every 1 minute. Look, so it should be something like that. So let's just change this. I think when you say at minute 1, it means it's going to run at 0, so 12 o'clock in the night at 1 minute. So we want to change this to that. So let's just change that and change this to here, and let's just push this again and commit and push. Cool. So hopefully that should, so nothing has run yet, and our those two workflow has been disabled, so that's why it has not run when we just committed that change. So let's see what happens when in a 1 minute. Hopefully, let's just make sure that it has that change we have just made. And here, yeah, it should do. So it should run in a minute. should be here any minute. I'm just going to pause the video because I don't want to kind of bore you with this. All right, our schedule is running correctly, but one problem I have just spotted that we have scheduled it to run it every 1 minute, and I was just rereading the documentation. So I was just rereading the scheduling events documentation, and I have realized that the shortest interval you can run scheduled workflow is every 5 minutes. So that's the reason our schedule wasn't running correctly. So what we have to do is we have to change this to 5 minutes, so every fifth minute, and change back on our thing here to 5 minutes. And if we just save this and commit that, uh, 5 minutes. If we push this, yeah, so hopefully that should run correctly on every 5 minutes. So yeah, there we go. So yeah, that should work now. Cool. So yeah, if you click on the schedule and if you go to the job, it should print the current date and time. Yeah, that's the UTC time. And if we go back on here and look at the previous sprint, it should print the previous time whenever it has run. Cool. So that's how it is running the scheduled job. It's running every 5 minutes, and it's not triggered by any other kind of pull request or a kind of push to the branch or something. Cool. So that ends our topic. We have demonstrated how to run this on a schedule. Hopefully that all made sense. Thank you for watching. Right, so thank you for joining back. So in today's tutorial, we're going to learn about how to configure workflows and run them manually. Let's dive in. So let's just quickly open my Google Chrome. Let's come out of these. There we go. So on my Google Chrome, I have my repository open. You can see that. That's the same repository we have been working. So that's our repo, and those are the workflows we have currently configured. So if we just go back to our Visual Studio Code where we have connected it to locally, and I have that open on my different screen. So just bring it back here. Okay, so in order to run the workflow manually, we have to run an event called workflow dispatch. Now, I do not remember the syntax of the workflow event, so workflow dispatch. So let's take a look on the documentation. So if we do workflow dispatch events, I think so this. That's the first page. Cool. And I think on the scroll down, this is what we're looking for. Workflow dispatch. Great. So yeah, look, so to enable the workflow trigger manually, you need to configure workflow dispatch. I don't know why GitHub has called it workflow dispatch. This could be just kind of uh, manual dispatch or something like that. But yeah, that's the name they have given, and we have to use that. So you can manually trigger a workflow run using the GitHub API, GitHub CLI, and GitHub browser. So we're going to try and use the GitHub. We're going to try and use the browser to trigger this workflow dispatch. Cool. So let's take a look at the example. The example is just here. So on workflow dispatch inputs, this is so what we can do is we can just copy all of this. Copy this, copy that, and then we can go back to our files and create a new file. I'm going to say manual. If I type correctly, manual trigger dot YAML, and then I'm going to paste this here. And what I'm going to do is you're going to go through line by line, but we're going to just give it a name because I like like to be named correctly, so we know that what is what. Manual trigger. Yeah, cool. So on here we got on event. So we learned about that already in our previous tutorials. So we are running this trigger on workflow dispatch. Now again, as I said, as the definition explained a minute ago, that workflow dispatch is the event which GitHub use to run the workflow manually. Yeah. Then we got this inputs. Yeah, so we got this inputs, and we have three different fields in the inputs. One is log level, the another one is tags, and the third one is the environment. Yeah, so inputs are the inputs, and then there are three different fields. What kind of fields are they? So log level is is choice field, right? The type of the log level is choice. The type of the tags is boolean, and the type of the environment is environment. So it's just an environment variable. So this description is the description of the field. So what is, we can say whatever we like to say. Required is when it's mandatory to select or select something from this field. So when we try to manually trigger them from the browser, it's mandatory to select something from this field. Yeah. So if we don't select anything, it won't let us run the workflow. As simple as that. Default is this out of these three options. Now this is one of the exam question, if I remember correctly. So it definitely asked me that if this syntax is correct or not. So it's given me these options, and then there was kind of this three selection to choose from. And yeah, I think I managed to get it correct, but I'm just kind of letting you know that this is one of the exam question. So yeah, so we got three fields, different types, and then obviously different kind of if it's mandatory or non-mandatory. Yeah. So two fields are mandatory, environment and the log level is mandatory, tags are not mandatory. Cool. Then we got jobs. Yeah. So jobs, again we saw that already. Jobs has, this is the first name of job. So log log the inputs is the name of our job. Then we got run zone, which is again we set it same Ubuntu latest. So yeah, we're not changing that. And then we got steps, and within steps we got this run, where we are running some echo command. So what we are echoing? We are echoing just label, tags, and environment. So whatever is the name of the field here are then getting pasted here. But what is label? I mean, we didn't say uppercase label anywhere. So how does it know that this is what it need to print here? So if you just see below, there is environment. So this is where it's setting up the environment variables. You see, so label, tags, and environment, and this is getting assigned by this inputs, which is getting selected from our inputs here. You see, so we are assigning the log level value, whatever the selection here, to our environment variables, and then we are printing those environment variable into our echo. As simple as that. Not complicated at all, you know. So inputs comes here, goes as an environment variable, becomes an environment variable, and then it gets echoed here. Cool. So let's see this in action, how it looks like. So I just want to quickly see what is this error. 24 required true. What is required true? It's fine. It's completely fine. There we go. Good. So save this, and if I just, and I'm going to, oops, where am I? Clear this out. If I just add this commit. So by the way, if you if you do just git add am, you don't need to do git add. If you haven't added a new file, you don't need to do git add. You can just do git am, and then you can type in your message, and it will go. You don't have to type this extra message if you haven't added a new file, if that makes sense. Cool. So git commit am, then we just going to say edit manual workflow. We're going to push. If I type that correctly, oh, there we go. Okay, so that's gone on to the GitHub repository. Let's take a look what happened here. So if we go to our actions, and if you see there's nothing has been done today. Yeah, nothing has been done today. So let's go to the manual trigger. So if I go to the manual trigger, you see there's option to run workflows. If I click here, straight away it is asking us to select our inputs. So this is the kind of, we are running it on a main branch, so it allows us to change the branch if we have to, but we don't want to change because we are running on a main branch. This branch does not have these changes. Then it is asking to select the log level. So you can see there's a mandatory, it's a mandatory fit, so that's why there's a star right next to it, and then the default value was warning, so that's why the warning was auto selected. So let's select debug for now, and then you can see the test scenario tag. So in our code, if you just take a look, test scenario tag was boolean, so, and it wasn't required, so that's the reason it is asking us to kind of just do the selection. So it's up to us if you want to select or not select, but I'll just not select for now, and then we have to select the environment to run against. So why does not, does it not select? This, okay, let's take a look at the, what did it do? Why does it not allow us to? So I'm just checking why it is not allowing me to select anything, because maybe I'm running it on incognito mode. That's the reason. Let me just quickly try on my normal browser. 1 second. Login is that, sign out. In 1 second, give me 1 second. I'm just gonna quickly, I'm just gonna pause this video for now just to see. Alright, so I have changed the type to string for now, because it looks like the environment type seems to have some problems. So I can see some issue has been already raised on the GitHub. So yeah, for whatever reason it has a problem. So we're just going to use a string for now. But its documentation already says that we can use the you can use environment as a type. So I'm not sure why it's not working. So if I just quickly show you what are the types of the inputs. So let me just quickly show you 1 second. It's on my different screen, but I think I can copy paste it here. Yeah, so look, it's on the GitHub, and it says the value of this parameter is string specified the data and input. This must be one of the boolean choice number environment or string. So environment is one of the types. So I was expecting we can use that, but anyhow, we're just using string for now. But again, you may have to just remember that these are the types are allowed on a workflow dispatch. So yeah, string, and then I'm going to commit this. So see, this time I'm not doing GitHub. sorry, git add. I'm just directly doing git commit am, and it should commit that whole our change. So change changed from environment string, and then I'm just going to push this. There we go. Okay, so let's have a look at the event now. Not here. Where is it gone? Here. There. Everywhere. Go to actions. Manual trigger. Run workflow. Again, we're keeping the same branch. Log level, we're going to change to debug. We're not going to select anything. And environment, I'm going to say production. Run workflow. Let's see what happens. There we go. And if you see our job, so that's finished. And let's have a look at what happened in a run echo command. So we have asked it to echo all the environment variable which we have used. So the label is debug because that's what we selected. Tags, we did not select anything because we did not tick it, and the environment we selected production. So that's all working nicely. Cool. So that's how you would run the manual events on the GitHub Actions. Thank you.
All right, so this tutorial is about how to configure a workflow to run webhook events. So let's take a look how to do that. So let me just come out of this and 1 second, if it works. There you go. And so so the journey so far is that we have deployed different workflows. Now we are looking to deploy a workflow and run that using a webhook events. So let's just quickly take a look what are the webhook events. So if we just do hook events, workflow, GitHub action maybe. Hopefully that should take us to maybe this link here. Yeah, there you go. So yeah, this is the documentation from GitHub Docs about the webhook events and the payloads. So there are different kind of events we can use. There are a number of them. The most common one are like deployment and deployment status. Uh, I think I saw check and check suit question in the exam. So I think the exam question is something like how what are the event types, like can you use it with requested type. Uh, so yeah, there are number of different events, but I think we only going to go through with a couple of them. So I think the best one is the deployment and deployment status. So yeah, that's two events we're going to go through in our tutorial. So just let's dive in. If we go back to our Visual Studio Code and if we create a new file called webhook event .yaml, and I think I have already created this on my different repo, so I'm just going to copy and paste the YAML file from there. 1 second, if I can find it. Found it. Cool. So this is the event we going to trigger using the webhook. Let's save this. So the name of the event is deployment workflow. We said that on deployment and deployment status, we want to trigger these jobs. Now, don't worry about if you don't know what deployment is and what deployment status is. If you haven't heard them before, related to the GitHub, but we're going to take a look at the we're going to take a look on the portal, on the GitHub repository, what it looks like and how to manage them. So yeah, don't worry too much about that at this moment. We are saying that again, same kind of theme. We are running the jobs. The name of the job is deploy. We are running on Ubuntu. The first step of the job is checking out the repository, and the next step is running the deployment scripts. The scripts are simple as well. So we are saying just going a simple command deployment has started. Then we going a different command with the environment variable, which is printing the environment we are going to trigger this deployment for. And you're going to take a look this in a second. When we actually run the command, you will see what this actually means, what our environments are. And then in the second a different kind of if condition, we are saying if the environment is production, then print this, and if it's not production, then print whatever the name of the environment is. Yeah. So how does this environment comes up here? So let's before doing anything, let's just push this change on the GitHub. So if you do git add git commit um, webhook events push. That's gone through. Let's quickly take a look at the what happened at the repository. So you know already that we have disabled all of the action because we don't want it to trigger when we are doing this kind of testing of the different workflows. So hopefully we should see a new workflow, deployment workflow. That's nice. And nothing has triggered because we said we want it to trigger when there is a deployment or deployment status. So what are this? So normally, if so, deployments are when you want to deploy something on a different environment. So on the production environment or development environment, but we can't see anything here. Normally, you should see deployment here because we haven't triggered any deployment yet on the repository. So how do we trigger it? So there are different APIs or sorry, different way to trigger this. So you can do it with the curl command. You can do it with the GitHub API commands. So during this tutorial, we're going to use a GitHub API because that's the easiest way to do it. Using curl command would be quite easier if you're using a MacBook. That's what I found. But with the Windows and PowerShell, I think I personally feel that GitHub APIs are easiest way to trigger them. So let's take a look on what could be the syntax of this. So let me just quickly find a documentation which would tell this. 1 second. Da, 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 da. 1 second. If I go back in here and paste. Yeah, these are the kind of, and this is for check run, but it would be similar for the deployment as well. So if you just take a look at the deployments, maybe and here and yeah. So you can see here. So this is the documentation from the GitHub, and this is how you trigger your webhook. So you can trigger it with the curl command. You see, if that's what you like to use. There's a JavaScript as well, and there's a GitHub CLI. So we're going to try and use this rather than using anything else. Yeah. So what we can do is we can quickly copy this on our Notepad++, and we're going to change this. So the owner of the owner repo and deployment. So we want the owner from our owner is where is it here? So this is the owner and this is the repo. Let's go back to Notepad++, and you're keeping the deployments as it is. There are a few arguments we should pass in here, so I'm just going to remove this for now because this backslash doesn't work correctly with the PowerShell for whatever reason. And remove that. And I think there are some arguments you can pass with here. So you can pass environment variable, and you can pass what branch you want to run this, for which branch you want to trigger this webhook. So let's have a look at the documentation again, which is yeah, there you go. So the reference where you can pass a branch, yeah. So and then the environment as well. So let's try and pass this to arguments on our webhook APIs. So if we just change this here, and I think in order to pass it, you have to do something like f, and then let's say ref, and I think something like that. And then in order to pass the branch, I would say ref again, not ref, sorry, environment, sorry, environment equal to production for now. Let's see. So if so, let's see. So we saw there is no environment set up on the GitHub at all. So if you go back on our repo, and here, you see this if you go to settings, if you go to environments, there's nothing set up here for this repository. So let's see what happens, because we just literally saying that it should use the environment variable for, sorry, it should use the production environment for this trigger. So let's take a look what happens if we run this command. Yeah, so I'm just going to copy this, copy, and if I go back on Visual Studio Code and if I clear my screen, there's that. Okay, so I haven't logged in on the GitHub CLI. So what? Oh, so hopefully, so I told you how to download and install the GitHub CLI. If I not, I haven't. Apologies for that. You know, to download GitHub CLI, you just do GitHub CLI for Windows. If you're using Mac, you can do GitHub CLI for Mac, and then just download and install this. It's quite simple. And then this is the command line. You can start using GH, and then you can use whatever you like to use. Yeah. But before using that, if you are interacting with the GitHub, you have to log into the GitHub. So what you can do is gh auth login, and then it will ask you, are you logging to github.com or enterprise server? I'm going to select github.com, HTTPS or SSH. I'm going to select HTTPS. That's the easiest way to do that. Say yes, authenticate GitHub credential, yes. Login with the web browser, yes. Now, if you copy this and press enter, it should, I think I didn't do it properly. 1 second, let's try again. github.com, HTTPS, yes. Login with the web browser, and just quickly copy that. And then press enter. Hopefully that opens this kind of screen, and then you press continue, and then paste the number you copied. Continue and authorize GitHub. That's it. That's all you need to do. And that should log into the GitHub for you using the CLI command. Now, there's a way to kind of export the GitHub some environment variables and do this, but this is the easiest way. So yeah, if you run this command now, you get some JSON back to kind of verify that this has run correctly. So you can see the environment, we said we want to use production, so it has gone to the production, date and time, repository URL, and all kind of nice stuff. But let's take a look at the repo itself, what happened there. So let's take a look at the repo, close this down. There's the repo, and go to the actions. And you can see this, there's a production workflow run. And let's see what happened here. And so that's the name of our job. Click on here and let's see what happened in the run deployment scripts. So yeah, deployment triggered, running deployment for the environment production and deploying from production. So that seems to have worked. So where is the deployment then? For what kind of deployment has it deployed? So let's take a look. So if you go back to the actions, so you see there's a new management tab here called deployments. This wasn't there when we have before when we run this ACCLI command. So let's take a look at that, what happened. And you can see this is the commit we have made to do the deployment. So this could be like deploying to your production, um, new Terraform uh, and infrastructure and stuff like that. So at the moment, it's just showing a commit we have made, but this could be something. But we are not going into too much what kind of deployment it is because we just want to cover how to trigger using the webhook. So, and you can also see the new environment has created called production. So if you go to the settings again, and if you go to the environments, you should be able to see production environment has been created because that's what we have used with our command here. Let's change this command a little bit and let's change this to let's say staging maybe, and let's see what happens. So again, same kind of thing, but you shall see that the new name of the staging and environment has been changed. So we have triggered this again using the GitHub CLI, and if we check the repo, and if you just refresh this quickly, you see there is a new environment here. And if we go to the actions, if you go to the deployments, it should have run this here, and we should see a new run of the workflow called staging in the deployment workflows. Yeah, and let's just quickly take a look. Yeah, so deployment trigger, deployment to staging. So if the if condition which we had in our code, it has gone to this part because it's not production and it has printed correctly. So yeah, that's how you trigger the webhook for these two events. Cool. That's it from this lecture. Probably see you in the next lecture. Thank you.
Hello everyone. So thank you for joining again. In today's tutorial, we're going to demonstrate a GitHub event to trigger a workflow based on a practical use case. So we need to decide like we have went through quite a few topics already, but you may ask what is the use of those workflows or where am I going to use in a real life. So I have decided to kind of go through with this with a practical use case. So what we're going to do is we're going to use GitHub workflow to work with the Terraform. So uh, we will need Azure, we will need a Terraform to create resources within the Azure. So I will walk through with everything. So we will walk through how to install Terraform, uh, create a Azure account, and then what else we may need in order to run the Terraform on the GitHub action workflow. So this is very action-packed tutorial. So yeah, sit tight and hopefully you can follow along. Cool. So first thing first, what is the pre-requirements in order to follow today's tutorial? So you will need a Terraform install on your computer. So because we are using Windows, so I'm going to go through with how to install it on the Windows. For the Mac user, it's a little bit different. You have to install it via either some bash commands, or you can directly go on a Terraform site and do it. For Windows, I find installing via Chocolatey is the easiest way. So what you can do is you can install. So So if you haven't got Chocolatey already, you can install Chocolatey on your computer using this link, and I will provide this link in the description of the video. So install Chocolatey for individual using this command, and I think it's I even forgotten how I installed it, but it's just literally, yeah, you open the you first ensure the administrator shell. So you open the PowerShell using the administrator install. So you already have PowerShell on your computer, and then run bypass. Did I do all this? I did, yeah. And then you run this PowerShell command to install Chocolatey on your computer. So yeah, hopefully that's straightforward. This is like a pre-requirement. So I already got Chocolatey installed on my computer, otherwise I would have just shown you how to do that. So once you got Chocolatey installed, then you have to run Choco. So if I open my PowerShell, one sec. PowerShell. It's on a different screen, so I'll bring it on this screen. One second. So this is the PowerShell, and then you just literally type in this command, Choco install Terraform, and that will install the Terraform on your computer. I already got Terraform installed on my computer, so I'm not going to run this. So if I see version, it will hopefully show me the current version of the Terraform. Yeah, so that's how you install Terraform on your local computer. Then you will also need a Azure account, so you can create a free Azure account from this site called azure.microsoft.com. I already got my Azure account, so I wouldn't be able to kind of walk you through how to create Azure account, but it's literally straightforward. You just fill up the form, and then the account will be created. You may need to enter your credit card or debit card details just to verify your identity, but it's very straightforward process. So that once you have Azure account, then what we can do is we can do some pre-requirement steps. So we can create a storage account, we can create a service principal, and we can give some RBAC rights to that service principal. The reason why we need the storage account is because not sure if you have worked with Terraform before, but Terraform requires a state file to be stored. You can either store it on your computer, or you can store it on the remotely on Azure storage account. You can also store on the AWS and stuff like that, but we're going to use Azure for now. Uh, so why so you may ask, why does why do we need um, why do we need Terraform and Azure? So well, we can use Terraform to deploy on multiple cloud providers. So we can deploy it on AWS, we can deploy on Alibaba or Google Cloud. So because I'm quite familiar with the Azure, I would like to show you on Azure, and quite easier for me to show that on the Azure. So let me just quickly go on my Azure portal. So this is my Azure portal where I already got the account. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a new resource group. So what I'm going to do is just create a new resource group here, and it's going to say Terraform state, and I think you can give it has to be unique. So and I'm going to do UK South because that's the closest region for me, and that's it. That's all I need. I'm not going to create any tags or anything. So create our resource group are ready. It's ready. We can go back in that, and then what we need to do is going to create a storage account. So storage account, create storage account, and we're just going to fill up some details here. So because we have clicked create button within the resource group, most of the fields are pre-filled, like the resource group and the region and stuff like that. So the name of the storage account need to be unique. So I'm going to say Terraform state storage, maybe just taken. I'm just going to give today's date or something like that. So 1010. Hopefully within 3 and 24 character. So that's too long. Yeah, that's the problem with the storage account. Never able to define decide the name. Don't type my name here. Okay, so that's available, and I'm going to change this to LRS because we don't need that, and it's going to keep this as it is. I'm not going to change anything else, any default values. So we're just going to go and review and create, because we going to learn about the GitHub action rather than Terraform, rather than Azure. So we may just press create button here, and hopefully in a minute or something our storage account should be ready. While it is baking, I'm just going to click on the repository. So yeah, that's the repository we're going to use. So it's the same repository we have been working, and it's just going to close these. We don't need that. And where is the Terraform one? So our storage account is ready, so we can go to the resource, and we can go to the data storage containers, and I'm going to create a new container called tf state maybe, and just create that. So that's the container. So within the container we can store our state file. Now let me just quickly have a look at uh, the file. Did I do anything else? I think that's it. So key would be, yeah, okay. So what we need to do is we need to then go on our Azure, and we need to now create a service principal. So in order to create a service principal, we have to go to Microsoft Entra. So I'll just type Entra maybe. There we go. New tab. And I think I already created one service principal, but I'm not going to use that. We're going to just create a new one here. So if I go to here and app registration, so all applications, so that's the one I created. So I'm just going to delete this for now because this is not needed. Delete. So it's gone, and we're going to do a new registration. So just do new registration. TF access maybe. Yeah, it doesn't matter. And it's going to keep everything as default because we only want single tenant access, and it's going to register that. That's registered. What we need from the service principal is that we need this uh, client ID, we need tenant ID, and we will need a secret to authenticate ourselves from the Terraform and from the GitHub workflow. So what I'm going to do is going to create a new text file. So we just bring this here if it allows me to. There you go. And we're going to copy client ID is whatever. We're then going to have a tenant ID is that, and then we're going to copy a we're going to create a secret and copy it here. So secret, and then let's go on to the manage and secret certificate secrets, and just click new client secret, demo, and I'm only going to do it for 1 day because I want it to expire in 1 day. Okay, so even if you can see this, it doesn't matter because it's going to expire by the time I upload the video, so that's fine. So I copy this and paste it here. So yeah, these are the three details we will need. uh, so let me just quickly go remove this, and oh, okay, we also need a subscription ID. So the subscription wherever state file is going to leave, so I'm just going to quickly copy that as well just for our purposes. So let's go back on home, maybe go to our storage account and get our subscription ID. So on our file we now have 4 details. I will show you that in a minute. So I'll move that on my other screen, 1 second. So yeah, we got these 4 details. So what we need to do next? So we need to give the service principal which we created access to the subscription, because that's the service principal we're going to use in order to authenticate ourselves using the GitHub workflow to create the resources within our subscription. Hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, I can try and explain it again, but so service principal is going to authenticate using the GitHub action workflow to create a new resources on the Azure. So let's go to the subscription, which is this one, and then go to the access control, and then go to the role assignments, or I can just go in here and click on add role assignments, and then I'm going to assign a contributor role, so it can create a new resources within the subscription. And here I'm going to select the TF access, so TF access, there we go, select, review and assign, great. So our service principal now have access to the subscription to create whatever it need to create. Cool. So the next step for us to do is to go back to our repository and create some Terraform files and some workflow files. So let's go back on our repository, which is here, and I'm going to create, first of all, let's create a new Terraform file here. So I'm going to do not in a GitHub repository, sorry, we want to do it outside of the GitHub, so I'm going to do it here. So I'm going to say init, you can name it anything, it doesn't have to be init, but I like to call it init. So I already have created those files, so I to save us some time from typing, so I'm going to copy those details directly to this screen, and then we can just use that. So that's the initialization file, that's why I call it init. You can just say main or something, it's up to you. What we are saying here is that we want to use the Terraform. This is the version we like, and we like version more than 1.7.5. Our backend is going to be remote, so this is the resource group. So I have to change this resource group because we are storing this on a different a resource group. So let's find out what it is. Not this. Go back in here. So our resource group name is Terraform state. So let's change that here. Terraform state. Then our storage account name, which is that. So let's copy that and copy and paste it here. We're going to create very simple Terraform resource. So our main goal here is to kind of run the Terraform using the GitHub workflow, not to learn Terraform. So you're going to create very simple simple Terraform resource. So if you go to containers, and I called it tf state, so that's what it's called, tf state, and the key will create itself. So this is the file it will create within the container, so we don't need to do anything about that. The provider we are using is Azure RM provider, which is version 4.30, 3.0. I think that's the latest one. And the subscription where we're going to create our resources is this one, and I think that's the subscription. We have our state file in here. That's the one. Cool. So that's the subscription ID. Cool. So we got our initialized file ready. What we can do is create another file called main.tf maybe, and here we're going to create some Terraform resource. So what I'm going to do is just going to copy something I already have, which is very simple, which is we are creating a resource group with this name and in the location UK South. Yeah, so literally just one resource group, that's it, nothing else. I'm just going to call this GitHub demo or something like that, because I may have just used that name before. Okay, so that's the Terraform. I'm just going to save this as well, Control S. Our Terraform is now ready. Now what we need to do is we need to create our workflow file. So just create new workflow file, and I'm going to call it Terraform plan apply.yaml. There we go. Cool. So what details do we need here? So again, I had gone ahead and created this already on my different repo just to test it before I demo you guys. So that's why I have got the Terraform file ready. So I'm just going to paste it, Terraform plan apply YAML file ready. So I'm going to paste the details here. We're going to walk through this, what it is and how it works and all kind of nice thing. So we have went through all this already, that this is the name we want to give it to the workflow. These are the events we want to do. So on push to the main branch, we want this workflow to run, or if there's a pull request on the main branch, we want this workflow to run. These are the environment variables. So in order for this Terraform files to be able to create new resources on the Azure, it need to authenticate itself on the Azure. So we are authenticating Terraform using the environment variables we are exporting from our GitHub workflow. So yep, these are the four variables we need. We haven't created those variables as an environment variable on the GitHub repo yet, so we're going to do that in a minute. Yeah, so let's just do that now. So let's go to the repo and go in here and go to the settings, and I believe it's this here. Yeah, and we're going to create new repository secrets. Yeah, so new repository secrets, and we're going to name them. Let's go back on the in here. So we're going to name them as your client ID. So this is the exact name you need. Yeah, you can't change these names. Well, you can change these names, but then when you're supplying it to the environment variable, these are the exact name you need here. So obviously you can change this secret names on the repository, environment variable, but when you are creating the environment variable for the for this workflow, then you need this exact name, because that's what the Terraform is going to read from. Yeah, because we're not going to supply that separately. This Terraform by default will read this environment variables as the authentication variable to authenticate Terraform onto the Azure. Cool. So let's just click these and tab this out, paste it here, and the secret we need, which we already created, which is that. Copy that, paste it here, add secret. Failed to add secret. Why? Refresh that. Image is not refreshed. So let's just copy it again. And go to Notepad. Copy again and paste it here. Hopefully, yep, there we go. And new repository secret, and this time we're going to do the second one. So I'm going to pause the video because you're going to create 4 of them, yeah? So I don't want to bore you with creating the same thing. 1 second. So all of our secret has been created, as you can see on the screen. So these are the 4 secrets we need, exactly same as what we have got in here. Cool. So we're going to use this secret 2 places. One in order to authenticate, in order to allow Terraform to authenticate, and we also going to use on this Azure login action to authentic to allow the so if I just go in here and what that is, allow workflow to log in on the Azure, because remember the workflow need to log in on the Terraform. So I think I just realized that we don't need this login because we are managing the Terraform authentication using this environment variable, so we don't need this. So what I'm going to do is remove this for now. So come out of this and remove that for time being. So just going to come back in a second. So yeah, that's it. So that's the so we were here, we created the environment variable, then we going to create a jobs. So we're going to create multiple jobs here. One job is to Terraform plan, and another job is to Terraform apply. And I think I've used this here as well, so I'm going to get rid of that here as well. Yeah. So one job is Terraform plan, and another job is Terraform apply. And Terraform apply depends on Terraform plan. Now, be careful. I say depends on the GitHub action workflow. You use needs rather than depends on. So that's one of the exam question, that what do you use, or they will give you different option, and there is a depends on option as well. And I on the Terraform using depends on the Azure DevOps pipelines you're using depends on as well. So on the GitHub action, it's needs for whatever reason. So just be careful with that, yeah. Uh, so yeah, so those are the jobs. Now we are also creating, so we are giving the name Terraform plan. It's again running on the Ubuntu latest. We are creating the outputs variable, yeah. So the output is uh, steps.tfplan output exit code. So what is this? So this is coming from the steps, which is here. Let's see, steps, which is here, and the tfplan is here, and then we are outputting the exit code to print that exit code and print it onto the TF plan exit code. So I'm just going to find out where are we using this. So we are using that on our if condition. So if the plan is uh, equal to 2, then and only then we are running the apply. So if there is a problem on the if the exit code is 1, then we know that there is a problem with the plan, and we shouldn't be running 1 or 0. Sorry, 1 actually. So we shouldn't be running this Terraform apply. Hopefully that makes sense. Uh, then in the this is the checkout. So we're checking out the current repository to the runner, which is the Ubuntu latest. Then we are setting up Terraform. So what we are doing, so we are getting this, we're using this action HashiCrop setup Terraform version 3. Oops. And we are saying Terraform wrapper false. So yeah, don't worry about that for now. Then we have this Terraform initializing uh, step where we are initializing the Terraform. So in order to run Terraform, you must first initialize Terraform. You can then apply directly if you like to, but this is the kind of must step. You have to initialize Terraform. So that's what we are doing here. And then we are running the Terraform plan. So you can see Terraform plan, and we give an ID because we are going to use the ID to output the variable. Yeah. And in the run section, we exporting the exit code is equal to 0, and we are in the Terraform plan with the detailed exit code, whatever, and we are also outputting the TF plan, and so we can see the TF plan on the GitHub action. You don't, I think the previous code we had is to kind of actually use that TF plan on the apply, but I have removed all that because it may become too much uh, on the initial stages. Uh, so yeah, so we are using Terraform plan. We are echoing the exit code, and if it's failed, then we are exiting with 1. Otherwise, we are exiting 0. Yeah. So there's the Terraform plan, and in the next job, so you can see this is one job, Terraform plan. The next job, which is Terraform apply, we said that's the name of the job. But what we said here, we put the if condition. Now this is something you may have to kind of keep note of this, because these are the kind of exam question that how to use if condition on the workflow. So you use if, and what we are saying is if the GitHub reference is the main branch, and if the output is 2, then and only run this job. Yeah. So the if condition is on the job itself, and if it satisfy this both of these conditions, only then it's running this job. Hopefully that makes sense. uh, and then we have same as the apply, same as the plan steps, but slightly different that after init we straight away doing the apply and we are auto approving it. Yeah. So hopefully this all has made sense. This is now ready, so what we can do is we can save this, and our environments variable has been created. We got our plan and we have applied this. So what I can do is we are already on the main branch, so as soon as we push it will start running this workflow. So I'm going to one second. I'm going to go back on my Terraform and quickly, sorry, not my Terraform, my Visual Studio Code, and open the terminal, and it's going to say git and flow and files. Uh, so yeah, all of our Terraform file and our Terraform plan apply would be added on our repository. Do we need to do anything on the repository before we do that? Let me just quickly double check. So we created our secrets. Our repository is here. The secrets are accessed. No, should be fine. Yeah, should be good. Should be good to go. Yeah, we should be good to go. So let me just go back on these and push this. Cool. So let's see what happened. So if we go back on our repo, come to action, you can see the file is started running. So you can see the name on the left hand side, Terraform plan apply. If you click on here, we got two different jobs, Terraform plan and apply, and you can see there's a link between Terraform plan and apply. So plan is sorry, apply needs the plan. So let's quickly take a look at the plan. So it's finished running. So obviously it has done all the pre-steps. So set up job, checkout, set up Terraform, Terraform init, so initialize everything, Terraform plan. So let's see what happened in the plan. So it has rightly says that it's going to create a new resource group with the name of GitHub demo, yeah. And then it's now applying because we are running it on the main branch. So let's take a look at main branch. So let's take a look at the apply. So it has created this resource group. So let's see what happened on the Azure. So if you go back in here and go to resource groups, and you can see GitHub demo is created. So I hope it has made sense. Sorry if I was too fast or a little bit vague, if you may want to say that, but I want to kind of demo you a practical use case of how to use a GitHub action workflow to create the Terraform resources. So now you can create any resources within here. You can create a new virtual machine, you can create anything else. Just remember that what we have done here is that we have conditioned that the apply will only work on the main branch. So let's say if you create a new branch and then commit anything, it won't go to the apply. It will only do the planning. Yeah. So yeah, that's the end of the lecture. Thank you very much for joining. Please like, share, and subscribe.